And we're live, Rob and I. So, Rob Cobber, what have you got to say about stuff?
Yeah, so I'm just disappointed with the knowledge of like white people in general.
Yes, very disappointing. And what's worse is that they pretend not to understand when you tell them stuff. Why do you think
Mm.
that is?
Are they actually low IQ? Is it though the only like is it just the elites like you and me and perhaps other people like Richard Spencer? Are we only the elites that exist now?
Well, who is the elite? It's hard to tell. I mean, because the elites ought to be what are what is known as the aristocracy, and in the UK we're very confused about that because all these people with titles, but nobody thinks anything of them. In fact, like Andrew, he had Prince Andrew, or the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, had his titles taken away. What did he even do? Was he what was he found guilty of? We don't even know, and we don't even care. If bad stuff can happen to him like that without a trial, without even a specific accusation, well, our goose is cooked, isn't it? Hi, Rob. Did
Yeah,
you hear what I was
yeah.
saying?
Sorry, I think I misclicked. Um,
You kicked
you were
yourself out.
talking about someone who got like done legally, or
No, I was saying, I know I support unpopular causes and I ask questions that people don't really care about, like Prince Andrew, or the man formerly known as Prince Andrew.
what
What
the
did he do
fuck
wrong?
was with that? I looked into that. Right, hold on. I need to get like a little bit crazy here because is it not true legally you can you know do what's the word what's the word I'm thinking of? Sexual improprieties with a 16-year-old in the UK, and that's legal, right? Is is that
Exactly. So
is
it
that true?
wasn't illegal for him to have sex with a 17-year-old female.
Right,
But
right. And somehow the American Empire, in your mind, made that a thing where he was pilloried because of this, right?
Yeah, because Virginia Giuffre was a resident of Florida and California, where the age of consent was 18. So basically,
And
America
this,
is saying
okay, and
the
that,
whole wide
okay,
world is our
but
backyard.
yeah, but is that not like enforceable? Like, I don't understand. So, I guess what you're saying is the global empire has so much sway that they would like inherently condemn this man even though like the laws in his own country. I like international law supersedes the law in the UK. Is that what's actually happening?
Look, there is no international law, not really. I mean, they are supposed to be UN peacekeepers, right? But they're basically controlled by America because America has the biggest bombs and army and navy. So, and if they don't like you, they'll kidnap your president, like they did to Duterte, like they've done to Maduro, and it's just sends a warning,
Mm.
like any European leader who thinks that they are a European leader other than just the governor general of the American empire, you better watch out. We have American military and naval bases all over the world. You better watch it. And if you think you're going to try anything funny, we're just going to come in and kidnap you. And put you in jail and try you and maybe execute you, and there's
See,
nothing you can
this is
do,
going to be
and no one will
like
help
a
you.
kind of a strange take, but like if I was a British royal, I fucking Philip or whatever his name was. Obviously, I would push back legally, but I guess that's not an option for some reason. Like, this is where I'm confused about. Do the British royals have no power anymore? Like, what is happening?
Well, I, that's what I've been trying to tell you, and even your lawyer, your Catholic lawyer friend, he wouldn't accept it. It's like, look what happened in the 1975 constitutional crisis. Look what happened to Australians. All Gough Whitlam was trying to do was say, we don't want any CIA listening posts. We don't want the American military or the Navy in Australia. And the next thing he knew,
but this is like a member of the royal family. Holy okay. So we need to just cast aside this idea that English or the UK or even the royal family have any kind of power anymore, right? We just need to throw that away, because that is an illusion at this point, right?
We should have realized it in 1918, which is the crucial year, because that was the year.
Yeah, 100. Sorry, I wish there was like a react like symbol where I could do like the hands clap or like a happy face or like a laughing face or something. But this is complete truth. Oh my god. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, so basically, Christendom entered in 1918. Have I mentioned this to you, when the Austrian emperor and the German emperor abdicated, and Tsar Nicholas and his entire royal family were exterminated? But before that happened, Nicholas actually asked his first cousin, George V, if he could seek asylum in Britain. And guess what the answer was? No. No. And then the entire Romanovs, the entire family of the Romanovs were exterminated. And, you know the expression, blood is thicker than water. And you would have thought that European royal families of all people would know that. But George V said, too bad.
Like they were all brothers. Are we still talking about World War One? I mean, that, to be honest, that could have gone either way. But like militarily, the Germans could have won that.
Well, it's a principle of the thing, isn't it? It's a principle of the thing, that blood is thicker than water. If your first cousin is saying, I'm going to be killed if I don't come, if you won't give me asylum, and you said, no, sorry, too bad, bye, and then your entire family were exterminated by the Red Guards, which
Why
is
would you
exactly
ever
what
make
happened.
that decision? I mean, was he so corrupt that he couldn't make that decision? I mean, this is what I don't understand.
Well, it's actually quite easy to understand when you think of, if you can imagine being born into the royal family, you're isolated, right? You don't exactly receive a normal education. You don't have freedom of association. It's not like you go to school, and even if you did, everybody would treat you differently. You'd be told not to, speak to certain people, all kinds of things, right? And nobody would kind of want to do anything that might piss you off. And they won't tell you the truth. They won't say what they really think. And you are deprived of normal development. But anyway, I'm sure, if you want to look...
So what you're alluding to is that we already lost control, i.e. we, like the UK, England, so on, we already lost control like pre-World War One. Or even like before that, like pre-Russian
because of the English
Revolution.
Civil War.
Is that true?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the first Republican Revolution was took place in England, right, when Charles I lost his head. Because I mean, this is just a fact of life.
Okay,
If you piss
okay,
people off
okay.
so
Wait, wait,
much and
wait,
you're
wait.
king,
So, what was the point in time where, I mean, this is kind of the whole hilarious thing where, you know, white or whatever English people still think they have like some kind of say in what's going on, even though they're like debt slaves and so on. But this is very interesting. So, are you saying that like basically the Dutch what was his name? The Dutch king what
what William and
invited
Mary.
William of Orange. That was the start of the whole thing. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that was when the Protestant succession was secure, because before that, after the English Reformation, which is basically when Henry said, "I'm going to be my own pope from now on, and no one who isn't Anglican can inherit the throne," which is currently the rules. So you can't be any other kind of Christian other than an Anglican if you want to be King of England or Queen.
Okay.
Right? I mean, that makes
And
sense.
to my whole life, I've been looking at the Crusades. I've been looking at Elizabeth, and I've been looking at Alfred the Great and so on, and none of this really matters anymore. I feel like kind
Yeah,
of,
I mean, Alfred the Great
I feel like
united.
cocked. I feel like cocked by history now.
Well, yeah, it goes back. Where it's like the reason why I go on about Christianity is because once upon a time in Europe nobody had any rights. You couldn't even have your own religion because your religion had to be that of the king, and if you chose to have a different religion, you'd be burnt at the stake. That's I'm not making it up, am I? You couldn't challenge a Trinity, and if you did, you'd be declared a heretic and burnt at the stake. I know you weren't told
Right.
that
And that whole
Christianity, but
agenda
that's really
was predetermined. Yeah.
well, yes, because um, what um, the people who were burnt at the stake, the biggest group would be the Anabaptists, right? And the Anabaptists, I mean, to be an Anabaptist is somebody who wants to be baptized again. And understandably, you might want to ask, like, what the hell are we Christians supposed to believe in? What's this about Jesus being God and all kind, and also part of the Holy Spirit? Can you explain, please? And for centuries the king said, "Fuck off! Don't even ask us, to explain the Trinity, or you'll be burnt at the stake." But after a few centuries, it's like, oh, we'll give them confirmation classes and tell them some cock and bull story about water and ice and vapor being the third, the same thing. It's H2O, and that's the Holy Trinity, that kind of thing.
Okay. So I had this kind of back and forth with a South African Boer, which is basically a Dutch farmer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about this whole thing? Like, the Dutch farmers, the Boers, do you think they had any kind of, well, I mean, obviously they didn't succeed within historical narratives.
Well, they still maintain their identity. They're still in existence, right? But the thing is,
okay.
their own country won't support them anymore. They're on their own.
Yeah.
I mean, to the extent that the Netherlands might support them, the Dutch government might support them. It's like, okay, you can come back to Holland, and we'll give you asylum. And I bet a lot of them say, no, we'd rather stay here in Africa and take our chances and go back and live in,
It's a little bit like Brexit. I mean, it's a little bit like Brexit. It's like almost like any vote you could do, like pro-Brexit or anti-Brexit. Either way, it wouldn't kind of matter really, like
No,
in
because
the
it was
grand
never
scheme
meant
of
to be
it.
allowed. But
Yeah,
before I forget about the Netherlands, the Puritans actually went to live in Leiden for a bit because after the restoration of the monarchy in England, in Britain, the Puritans were, suddenly, on the wrong side of politics, and they had to go, and there was a bit of a problem, in even being allowed to leave the country, the Pilgrim Fathers. But for a while, they settled in Leiden, and then they realized they would lose their identity as Puritans because even then, um, Holland was too liberal, and they knew if they stayed there, they would lose their identity and be lost to the culture, and therefore they decided to go, on the Mayflower to start their own colony in Virginia.
right. So do you think if we're gonna nail it down, like who were the first people that recognized white flight? Was it the Protestants after the English Civil War?
Well, white people were always fighting and killing and running away from each other, right? There's nothing new about that. Um, the important thing is, do we care about these things? So what would, these white Africans, because that's what they are, right? Um, these Afrikaans people, but they just want to live in Africa as white people without suffering corruption, killing, home invasions, and whatnot. So they have to
I
campaign for
need
a
to
bit of
fucking
government.
react because it was like 100, 100, 100. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and this is where we can maybe all agree. It's like we want to keep our identity. We want to go to church or synagogue or whatever. And I'm saying there is a religion that actually allows this, and I'm saying it supports the First Amendment with Chapter 2, verse 256 of the Quran that says there is no belief, no compulsion in belief. Truth stands clear from error. So you could argue that the Quran is actually more liberal than Christianity or Judaism, because for the Jews, if they're going to follow their own rules properly, breaking the Sabbath attracts a death penalty. And so does idolatry and blasphemy. You basically attract the death penalty just for shaking a stick or even picking up sticks on Saturdays if you break the, because that's supposed to be considered to be breaking the Sabbath. So it's only the
Yeah,
Quran that says.
they do love to trick God.
Well, we don't know if
This
God
is one
is
thing. This is kind of well, you've heard about the string
the
they.
wrestling with Jacob wrestling with God thing. Is that what you mean?
No, well, no, but even like in modern day, they string a they pull that string and put it around like a block of flats or whatever, and
the
that
Eruv.
you can. Sorry.
The Eruv, Eruv, ERUV.
Yeah,
It's
and you can
pronounced.
just kind of work within that, or you can't work. I don't
You're not supposed to
understand
carry
completely.
stuff. You're not supposed to carry stuff, and they were thinking, oh dear, if we carry stuff, we break the Sabbath, and we're guilty of a mortal sin. And the idea is that within your own area, you're allowed to carry stuff and do things, right? The Sabbath is basically for Jews to think about, oh, what does it mean to be a Jew? We have to keep a Sabbath and we have to, have meals. It's like Sunday lunch when white people used to have it. Obviously, in order to make Sunday lunch a big thing, you need a woman to cook your Sunday lunch for you, right? It's like the man, he goes to the pub, and the woman cooks him, the dinner, and she might even go to the pub and call him back and maybe join him and his mates for a drink, and then they go back and then but obviously you'd only do that if there are no distractions like shopping on Sundays. So one little
there's something interesting about like alcohol consumption, right? And obviously, I'm very, very drunk live on YouTube right now. But the interesting thing about it is you don't actually have to drink when you're with people. So I was, with my family on Christmas, and we had a great time. And I virtually never drank. I never smoked, also, which is also an addiction I have. So they did this test with rats. The Americans did, where you've heard of the rat utopia experiment or whatever it's called with Calhoun.
Yes, where the rats just lost the will to live, even though they were given
Yeah,
everything.
and they were fed cocaine and so on. But what they found out is if they were given a great environment to live in, and they were all like interacting with it within like a family and so on, or an extended family, they wouldn't go for the cocaine, right? Have you heard about this?
Sorry, can you say that again? What are you talking? What, can you just repeat what you
So
just
the
said?
rats or the mice, or whatever they were, they would not go for the cocaine if they had like stimulation within a family
If
or
they weren't
an
social, comfortable
extended
social group.
family environment. Yeah, because
Okay, gotcha.
there were actually obligations that the rats needed to, hold up to, and they couldn't just fuck off and do cocaine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
because
it's social,
as members of the
social
group, they were
creatures.
assigned tasks which they had to complete.
Well,
Is that
not
what you mean?
necessarily, but they knew they were like part of a community or part of a family.
Uh-huh. Right. And I imagine it's like, we don't do drugs. We need to get things done, not like the others who just sit around all day getting high.
Yeah, but it's also like, yeah, we need to get stuff done. There's like a playground or something, and you need to like learn how to like, play soccer with the other family that also plays soccer or like whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah. So as long as you have a purpose, like, we are the people who, I don't know, even if it's just robbing banks, then you would be robbing banks until you get caught, right? Or, be a rock band, be, whatever it is that you say you are, a cricket club. And then you'd have to do things to be a cricket club or, pirates or whatever. Do you see? I mean, this is how religion kind of functions. So even the lowest criminal organization has to have an objective, a group objective of robbing banks, of collecting protection money, of, or running a legitimate business. You would have a reason to exist. And once you lose the reason for existing, because, if you're given everything on a plate, you would actually not want to do anything anymore, or can't see the point of doing anything. Did you hear me, Rob? He's muted
yeah. No,
himself.
I heard you. I heard you. Sorry, I
Okay.
was muted. So I'm interested in this idea of like and this is gonna get philosophical. I hope you can you have patience here.
Okay.
So like what does it mean to be alive? Or if you could answer that first of all. So you're
It is to discover the purpose of your life. That's what your life is about. It's like, what can I do to make myself happy, right? And lead a life that I enjoy. Right? Whether or not you believe in God, you want to have fun, right? And you want to be, it's like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. But eventually you'll want to become God, which is basically what Adam and Eve wanted to do. Eat from the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. If you're speaking, Rob, I can't hear you. I'm afraid I can't hear you. But to continue, while Rob is addressing his audio issues, we will have different ideas about what to do for the best. So while we may talk about, the public interest, the party interest, my personal interest, we don't really know what's good for ourselves. We could, think it's fun to be a serial killer, but then eventually we get caught. We might think it's fun to party, but then we end up drug addicted and homeless. So all the things we want to do have consequences. Yes, it's funny about Rob. I thought he was going to launch into a speech. But I can keep talking while he gets his audio together. So the purpose of life is to discover the purpose of our lives. So obviously we want to do the thing that we like to do, which doesn't get us into trouble or end us up in jail or jobless and homeless and despised and pitied. We'd like to be famous and powerful and wealthy, but then we also know that famous, wealthy, powerful people do not enjoy good mental health if what they do. Rob is back. Hello, Rob.
Sorry about that.
Did you want to continue, or shall I just finish my sentence, which I've forgotten? I began a sentence and then I forgot about wealthy, powerful, and yes, wealthy, powerful people not enjoying the best of mental health because they are racked by guilt for the sins and crimes they have committed, and they think they might be punished. People hate them and want to overthrow them if they're rulers, or they're going to be punished after they are dead by God.
Yeah. So do you think
actually set money aside after he died to get people to I think it was some church to say prayers for him, forever, because he knew that he was in deep trouble. Yes, carry on, Rob.
Well, I mean, obviously that's not the way to be, right? We shouldn't consider ourselves in debt to some institution and then beyond our children. We should never ask our children to rock up to a service where Scientology or something, where they are somehow in debt to the institution instead of their personal relationships that they've lived through their whole lives, right? No? Okay. Claire is...
Yes, I heard you. I was talking while muted. So the point is people don't know what's good for them. Not even countries, not even monarchs, not even empires. That's what history has told us, right? Because even empires...
Yeah, it's interesting because I want to push back on your notion that morality is everything, but I guess a successful formula is kind of like Judaism, right? Because they are the ultimate kind of arbiters of morality in the world, right?
Well, because they have the most powerful God, and I mean, they were the ones who discovered monotheism. I mean, you could have a God that doesn't care about morality, but obviously a God that cares about morality and punishes evil and rewards good is more powerful than an immoral God, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the formula. but like their God also allows them to, I guess, commit evil deeds upon those who aren't Jewish, right? So that's an inherent advantage within their group, no?
Sorry, I didn't quite understand what you were saying. Could you say that again? Oh dear. Rob is muted, but I didn't understand what he was saying. And he's gone quiet again. So the point of morality.
I'm just saying they have an inherent advantage when it comes to morality, i.e., their texts like the Zohar and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really
let me finish. They have an inherent advantage, which is they can do immoral acts on other groups, right?
Well, all groups can commit immoral acts on other groups. They have the most prestige, right? They have the most prestige because they're the ones who are supposed to be the first group of humans in receipt of divine revelation from the supreme authority of the universe. So, they were the first ones. And, that's a story if you believe in that sort of thing. And I guess if you're Christian, you would have to believe in it because, you worship a Jew if you're a Christian. So Christian basically said, well, Jews may be God's chosen people, but we're the boss now. We're more powerful. And obviously we've interpreted the divine revelation correctly because look how powerful we are. We are the Roman Empire, right? And now we are the global hegemon, right? I mean that's, in the end, might is right for empires anyway. So you could say, well, we're obviously right because we're more powerful, and if you say different, we're going to nuke you or kidnap your president and regime change your country.
Why did Israel get nuked?
Israel didn't get nuked.
No. Get nuked. Sorry. In other words, like, there was a time before Russia got nuked. But previously to that, America, like, made the nuke and did the nuke, right? Via, what was his fucking name? Oh, I just discovered. I just discovered the answer. So he was Jewish as well. Okay, we understand now why Israel is nukes. Okay. The physicists were Jewish. Okay, we understand.
Look, it doesn't matter. Israel, okay, if you asked the Israeli government officially, they won't tell you, right? But, obviously, if they do have nukes, it would be approved. Its use would be approved of by the American government, right? I mean,
even though, like,
Britain has nukes, but it doesn't even have the codes. So if Britain can't even start its own nuclear war because it has to get the codes from America.
We get it. Even though, like, Einstein came up with a theory first, right?
What is his theory?
The nuclear, physics to make a nuke, right? Einstein was the first one to do it. The theory of nuclear.
Okay. Wait,
I'm just saying, like, it was Jewish all the way down.
Okay, so
and Jews, all the way up.
Okay, so you want to kind of use your theory about Jews to explain everything, but you could use your theory of God to explain everything if you did believe in God, because I mean, I would say that the Jews are useful to Gentiles because they are like a group whose behavior and fortunes you can extract moral stories from, right? So,
Well,
I
no,
mean,
because you're saying what you're saying is they have the ultimate revelation from God, right?
no.
They're
Muslims
the
are saying
chosen
they have.
people. They're the chosen people.
Well, yeah, but in a way, we're all chosen, right, for doing different kinds of stuff. So Muslims can say, well, Jews may be the ones first in receipt of divine revelation, but we have the best revelation and the final one, so no one can come after us. So it's a kind of arms race of theology, isn't it?
But the Jews are the originator.
Yeah, so you can think, Jews just came up with that story, or God actually exists and did hand Torah
Which is
to Moses at that
100%
time.
what I believe now. And the only reason I believe it is because of the nuclear development, right? Because this is apparently okay. Well, some say that nukes aren't real. I don't know about that, but the fact that Jews like were the ones that proliferated the nuclear physics in order to kind of create the nuclear bombs. Einstein and Oppenheimer,
I
right?
don't know why you think it's a Jews.
Oppenheimer.
They couldn't have done it without living in America, right? They couldn't have
Yeah,
done it without
because
living in America.
because they were allowed by God, because they're favored by God, right? You said it yourself. God
I didn't say
favors
favored.
those people, no?
No, I didn't say favored. I mean, basically, Jews could be chosen to be made an example of. The way, you keep somebody
Yeah,
alive,
they
you just
could be,
slaughter
but that
them.
never happened. I mean, okay, well,
You
okay,
can keep
let's
somebody
not
alive,
go in.
just slaughter them.
Okay, let's not go into the Third Reich. I mean, maybe
No, I'm
that
thinking
was
of
a proof of
Prometheus.
your negative there. But all I'm saying is maybe we should like humble ourselves because actually they do have a direct line, a conduit to like the divine, right? No.
Well, no. I mean, okay, you want to believe in it because you've had this theory about Jews and you don't want to give it up and you want to, you know.
What do you mean? I'm just a historian, Claire. Do you not
No, but
understand the past?
you do focus on these Jews, like they were key to your understanding. But I'm saying, for
Okay,
instance,
so the nuke wasn't a key part of history. Is that your like? Are you saying that's not true? Or
no, I'm saying, stop focusing on Jews. I mean, somebody was bound to invent some super weapon, right? And the biggest empire
yeah, but
in the world is going to be interested in it.
unfortunately for your narrative, it just was the Jews though that did that.
Yeah, so but the point is, if you say Jews, if you say the Americans, it's the same thing. Or
Oh, it
Nacons,
is. Is it? Okay.
yeah, or the Anglo-American Empire, because
Was Einstein American?
yeah,
What do you mean?
well, didn't he have American citizenship?
Okay, right. Okay, he was. Let me go back a little bit. Was Lenin an American?
No, he was Russian. What about it?
Was Marx an American?
Marx was British and German.
Yeah,
No,
but he was.
the thing is,
He
actually,
was Jewish as
Marx's
well. But
parents
he was
were
Jewish as
Lutheran.
well.
Okay, Marx's parents were Lutheran.
He was Lutheran.
You're just going to contradict
Oh
the
God.
Russian people,
Okay.
right?
So they're not
Marx received a
religious. They're just
secular
It's
education.
just a genetic relationship. It's not religious. It's genetic. Then is that what you're saying?
You could say that Marx's mother still
Are
was still
you
Jewish,
Jewish,
even though she
Claire? Are
became
you
a
Jewish?
heretic.
Are you Jewish, Claire? Are you?
I could
Are
be
you
Jewish
Jewish?
if I chose to convert.
Yeah, but you, as a female, you wouldn't have to cut off your foreskin, which is the only option that I can convert. Right? By the way, if you know about this, I don't know if you know, but I've asked multiple Jewish people about this. I would actually love to convert. By the way, if someone could convert me without like the obligation that I would have to cut off my foreskin, I'd be happy to do it. I'd be the first
Well,
one
I
in
don't think
there to
you must
become
have heard of Luke
Jewish.
Ford. You must have
Sorry,
heard of Luke Ford. Have you heard of Luke Ford? The Luke
did
Ford,
he
he's a
did he
fellow
convert to?
Australian.
Did he convert?
Yes, his father was a Seventh-day Adventist.
Is that a Jewish thing?
No. So his father was a Seventh-day Adventist,
Mm.
right? And he converted, Luke Ford converted to Judaism. And he said, they didn't circumcise him, but, he's always wearing the yarmulke and everything.
How do you know
Whereas
that they didn't?
haven't
How do you
heard.
know? How do you know they didn't?
But because Luke told me, obviously we've known each other for years, so the subject came up and said,
Did you see it
I-
after he converted? Did you see his penis?
no, I haven't
I
seen
mean, you
his
can't
penis.
make this claim. You can't make this claim.
Well, why don't you ask him? Because I'm sure if you ask Luke, he would say that I think it was a cut or something and a bit of.
I don't want to ask him for a dick pic, Claire. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, there's no physical evidence that he didn't convert via circumcision, or he was already circumcised, right? I mean, that's the only option, because it's a covenant, as the Christians would say. You have to make a sacrifice, right? No?
Yes, and I mean the point is that I know the Muslims in Malaysia, they do it in their teens as a rite of passage. So that's what they do in Malaysia, and they make a big thing. It's their Muslim equivalent of the bar mitzvah, but so I know Luke did not go through such a thing, because obviously it could interfere with your enjoyment of sex if that is done to you in adulthood.
So what you're saying is Luke Ford is currently Jewish. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, he's always going on about being Jewish, and when he streams, he wears a yarmulke.
Is he accepted by the
Well, he says
the actual?
He probably doesn't.
Yeah. Again, is there any proof for this stuff?
Well, he's been expelled from a whole bunch of Jewish communities, but anyway.
Well, there's sort of some, there's some sort of evidence against your point, right? This is sort of some evidence for my whole thing, right? Again, I think in order to actually convert, you do actually need to make a sacrifice. And unfortunately, guys, you can't just join the club unless you cut off your foreskin, right? So this is kind of the whole thing. Well, furiously find this out, please. Because if there's a legal, Claire, you're a lawyer. If there's a legal loophole around this, let me know, because I'm the first one to sign up if there is a legal loophole.
Well, why don't you find out from your local rabbi? I wouldn't advise it, because it's not necessary. And even ultra-Orthodox rabbis say, well, why would a Gentile want to convert to Judaism? Because if God exists, he will be punishing Jews more harshly than Gentiles. And there are more restrictions in Judaism than in
Where is that in the Quran or the Talmud or the... Because, Jews, to be honest, Jews don't really respect the Quran, Claire. I don't know if you know about this.
So, but
well, okay. So that line you said, What did you say
What,
again?
what are you questioning? I mean, are you questioning that Judaism is the most restricted religion in the world?
No,
Or are you
no, no,
agreeing?
no. I'm just trying to gain power.
Well, you won't
I'm
gain
just
power
trying to
by being
be
part of
part
the
of the club,
group.
Claire. But I don't
You
want to
won't
cut off
gain
my
power by
bullshit. That's
becoming
what
a
I'm doing.
Jew.
I'm just trying to get like power and be part of the
Well,
club,
you
right?
won't. Look, the process is the same for everyone. So you convert to Judaism or Islam, you're going to be a newbie. Nobody's going to respect your opinion because you've just joined the club, right? So you would
Mm-hmm.
have to defer as a convert to whoever's been there longer in your mosque or your synagogue. So you're not going to enjoy any of the fruits of your conversion. Your children might, but you won't.
Interesting.
But
So
your
God
children
doesn't
will.
love me then.
Okay,
God,
but your
God
children
isn't
will enjoy.
isn't something I can appeal to. It's like a. So really, like I
So
should just
are we
become an
getting it?
atheist.
Can I just make a point, right? That if you convert to Judaism or Islam, you're not going to get the benefit of it, but your children will, but only if you bring them up as a Muslim or a Jew. Otherwise, they're not
Yeah,
going to be
yeah,
affected.
yeah. I'm just scared that my children may be fucked over via some like random ritual that I'm not aware of. While I'm at work, some shit could go
Happen.
down
It could
in
happen.
the mosque or the what is it fucking called? The
Synagogue, sure.
yeah, in the synagogue, and I wouldn't be there, and then my children would be fucked for life. Okay, you say they will be rewarded. Is it just like via materialism, or will they actually be like will they actually be humans that like have a good life?
Who
Because
knows?
what I hear
Who
what you're
knows?
saying is what I'm hearing what you're saying is I could just like sell my future progeny, whatever the word is, for whatever evils continue on.
Anything could happen. There are no guarantees, and I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that.
You sound like an occultist. I almost like you because you're like so fucking right hand path. It's
I can't hear you properly. You'll come. Oh, here we go again. Look, of course there are no guarantees. You only do it if you think it's the right thing to do, right? And the whole process is if you think you're going to go to heaven, if you believe, then convert to the religion of your choice. But if you don't believe in that, why would you be doing that? You would only be doing that either to marry, a Muslim or a Jewess that you want to marry, or you think you're going to get better treatment or better career opportunities or whatever. Lots of people convert, not for spiritual reasons, but for economic and social reasons. But if you really did believe in the afterlife, and you think only people who worship the Abrahamic God correctly have a reasonable chance of getting to heaven, then that's what you do. I wonder if Rob is going to come back and what he's going to discuss next. So it sounds like he's thinking of converting, but he's looking at the downside. He should just become a secular Quranist, so he would have a foot in both camps. So as an agnostic or an atheist or a Christian or whatever, you can talk about the rule of law. And the rule of law is people wanting to obey the law just because it is a law. You won't get to such a society unless the people trust the government, and at the moment they don't. So the rule of law is not just, we have laws in our country. It means that we have a system of legislation that we, as citizens, trust and respect because we trust and respect our ruling classes. So at the moment, the West is not near that desirable destination. But how can we get ourselves closer to it? We must, of course, talk about how to get there in theory. Sadly, too many people are afraid to even say that they're not happy with the current system. So our current religion is liberalism, and our values are liberal. We're supposed to think, oh, we're so free in the West, in the free West, where we can have sex with whoever, and our government encourages it. These are Western values. And we already know what's happening to the West and to Westerners. They're always complaining about immigration. But this is an inevitability if you won't produce the next generation in sufficient numbers. Then you have a labor shortage, which of course is going to be plugged by uncontrolled mass immigration. So currently, our political orthodoxy is in fact feminism. Let's not call it liberalism. Let's call it feminism. And once you realize it is feminism, you could perhaps ask, well, I didn't know feminism could become a religion. Who are we supposed to be worshipping as feminists? It would be the slut. Men in the West are basically worshipping the idol of the slut. How low is that? How pathetic. How despicable. To be so low as to make a point of always worshipping immoral women and always deferring to them. And then blaming the Jews when things don't go right for worshippers of sluts. How can you identify a promiscuous woman? Well, she would be an unmarried mother, a never married mother. So basically, Western men worship the never married mother. They worship her because they think she's easy to bed and she will have low expectations because she would know that being a never married mother, she's not going to receive any genuine offers of marriage. And so she should be grateful for any male attention she gets, even if he's a pumper and dumper. And this is the reality of Western man. And he won't be acknowledging this anytime soon because he doesn't want to give up his short-term pleasures of pumping and dumping promiscuous women who are not worth marrying. In order to raise standards of sexual morality, sluts have to be shamed. And this means, by extension, slut fuckers. It's very simple, really. There's no need to blame the Jews or the Muslims or even the sluts. It's just that If you're an atheist, you would only be thinking of short-term pleasures of life, and this would be related to materialism and pleasures of the flesh. And religion is the best way to guide ourselves out of it so that the next generation will be properly educated and parented by their responsible married parents. And even those of us who are not in a position to marry because we're not marriageable, because we're too old or drunk or ugly or stupid or poor or sick, we just have to state the principle. We just have to support the theory. If we're not marriageable, nobody's going to force us to marry. We just have to say, well, whether we're capable of producing healthy children that we're going to be parenting properly is not the point. It's a point. It is something that those who are capable of doing that should be made to do it, and encouraged by the government and supported by the government, of course, to do so. But currently, the matriarchy will not be doing anything of the sort, will it? The matriarchy will be seeking to perpetuate itself at the expense of truth, logic, and morality. I don't know where Rob is. He's just dropped out.